Not thinking about, not living without it.
Outside looking in.
Yay! Welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me on reluctant background vocals, my host companion, Sejohn Sarowick. Sejohn?
Hi, everybody. I'm trying to tell if I should sound reluctant still or not. No. Hey, everyone.
Oh, I guess behind the curtain, it crashed. Like, we recorded that bit you heard, and then it crashed. And that's why Sejohn's like, I didn't know how to play my character.
No. I love that how honest we are with our audiences. We could have completely just gone right by that one uncommented, but we wouldn't do that. We always like to tell you when shit goes terribly wrong for us.
I mean, I kind of feel like you told them I had found a beautiful edit point. We were going to be like NPR for the first time ever.
Well, so what I meant was I'm not reluctant to talk to our beautiful audience. I was just reluctant to be singing. That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I yelled at you. I yelled at you what to say whenever that happens. I guess the Gin Blossoms, interesting band, because I have like nothing but memories with the Gin Blossoms, but other people don't have that same like propensity for Gin Blossom knowledge.
I didn't know who the Gin Blossoms were until you sang them at karaoke one night after I met you.
That's incredible. That's the most incredible thing ever.
If you told me a song by the Gin Blossoms, there is like their most popular song is sing it for me really quick.
Probably Hey Jealousy. Tell me
Hey
if
Jealousy.
you think it'd be all right. That one.
Yeah. If I just stayed here tonight, right? Like that. Yes. So like I recognize that song. I would have told you that they were probably one-hit wonders, although that's probably not entirely correct. Off of that one song, like I knew nothing about them until you sang them one night at karaoke.
At the Wheelhouse.
So,
is that what you're trying to think of?
Yeah. I was trying to think of like what karaoke we were at, to be entirely honest. But yeah. So like there's this sense of like a lot of 90s bands for me where like they probably were bigger than I remember because I was only, a sweet little babby in the 90s, whereas you were a few years older than me, so you might have more solidified memories.
I think I'm a year older than you, aren't I?
Well, that's the thing, as I was about to say, is I've always kind of chalked it up to that, but really when I think about it, that really doesn't hold water, right? Like so yeah, man, I don't know, like you also have a much more personal connection with music than a lot of people I know. I don't know, man. Like you just you latched onto them in a way that I have to agree I don't think many other people in the world have.
Yeah. So I think where it comes from for me is that the Gin Blossoms were the band that became the soundtrack of like 90s music
Of our lives.
Well, there are a lot of like one-hit wonder bands. Case in point, the people who sing New Age Girl, which I had in my head earlier today, but I forgot because they have a stupid name. They have a name like the lead guitarist. His last name is Guillotine.
Like in reality, or
in
like
reality, like
stage?
his name is
okay.
it might be Guillolette.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. What's the song again?
New Age Girl. It's featured in Dumb and Dumber, I got a new age girl.
Yes, now I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, those guys were really good at finding like bands that were maybe hot for like a second, and I mean that was their specialty, is find a band that's really hot right now, so they're still kind of cheap, and then inevitably that always leads to them not possibly sticking around, right? Like you're taking that risk.
Or you
Dead-Eye Dick?
Dead-Eye Dick. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had Dead and I couldn't think of the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I also couldn't think of the order. Like, I thought it might be I Dead. Like, I Dead. Like, crazy. But, like, there are those bands like that where, like, the 90s were their chance to kind of shimmer and shine. But the Gin Blossoms, of all the bands like that, they kept getting work. So the first, like, Gin Blossoms that I can, like, remember in my mind is Till I Hear It From You, which is like their other kind of big song. And that's featured as the end credits music of Empire Records. So they're like the only like mainstream band on that entire soundtrack. And if someone, Gwar isn't mainstream at all, though. Like, that's a crazy thing to say.
Gwar is successful. They're just not mainstream.
Right.
Like
Gwar
is very successful in their niche.
and then, Gin Blossoms, the next time that they're used that it really speaks to me is in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. The chase music is Follow You Down, which would be like their third kind of hit.
Oh, see, now Follow You Down, had no idea it was the Gin Blossoms.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of band they are for me, is I probably know their music, I just don't realize that it's them, right?
Exactly. So, it comes to that head where, like, I hear these songs in movies, because I'm also a pretty big movie guy, and then I'm like, oh, the Gin Blossoms, I like the Gin Blossoms, and then I'll listen to a bunch of Gin Blossoms, and then because I'm listening to, like, full albums and everything, I'll hear their other songs like Until I Fall Away or Allison Road, which was then featured in the Psych movie. It was the song that made him realize that, what's her name? I can't think of her name.
Is it not Allison?
Well, her name is Allie in the thing. No, Heather Graham. Heather Graham is the bad guy.
Oh,
because he has a vision of someone who died during the series singing Allison Road. And I'm like, now, Psych and I have always aligned when it came to music.
Uh-huh.
Like, that was the show that taught me your taste in music you're not alone in your taste in music, is what Psych taught me.
Nice.
But then watching the movie that happened, and I'm like, man, I am over Psych. Like, that's, like, we get it. You know, a semi-obscure Gin Blossoms song. And then I also met a girl named Allie who's like, I know one Gin Blossoms song, and it's Allison Road, because that's my name. And I'm like, oh, but you go by Allie. No one would know that. And this has been my TED Talk on the Gin Blossoms. I guess to put a bow on it, I signed up for the Columbia Record Club as soon as I got a credit card.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like today, and I was like, do we need to have a conversation?
No.
Okay.
As soon as I got a credit card, and I had my own car, and I'm like, I need CDs for my car, I signed up for it. And I, again, because I'm a movie person, but also realizing that it's better than buying greatest hits CDs.
Yeah.
I buy movie soundtracks. Like, movie soundtracks have always kind of been my bag. Yeah. So that first order, I got the Blues Brothers soundtrack, Footloose, Top Gun. I got my own copy of Jimmy Buffett's Songs You Know by Heart, and then it's a fifth one, right? And I got the Gin Blossoms Greatest Hits, which is called Outside Looking In, and because I'm like, well, I could buy more soundtracks, or I could just listen to all the Gin Blossoms songs that were featured on soundtracks.
And then what albums did you end up spending $30 a piece?
Oh, I was smart enough to cancel it. I wasn't an idiot.
I thought the deal with some of those was that you couldn't cancel until you paid for at least 5 CDs at full price.
Oh, so you know what you do for that? You cancel the credit card, and then the card on file is bad when they go to run it, and then they're like, we need a new credit card from you, and you just ignore those. See, English people in the UK, they're lucky. They actually get to do that with their student loans, too. But in America, it's just Columbia House that you get to screw over.
Oh, man.
And all this talk of CDs, first of all, it's because the Gin Blossoms popped into my head, as they often do when I'm about to record podcasts, because in the early days of Two Friends on a Couch, I had to go buy a new cell phone, and I was at the cell phone store waiting for, just to ring up, and the Gin Blossoms song, Till I Hear It From You is on, and that's the one that features the Not Thinking About Not Living Without You, Outside Looking In. And I'm like, oh, everybody in the store. I tried to get everybody in the store to do the Outside Looking In with me, and everybody kind of stared at me like, what the hell are you talking about? So, and then I went and I talked about it on the podcast. So I always have that song kind of rumbling around in my head. But the other reason is I recreated a CD today, which is a nice way of saying I burned a CD, but using an existing CD track list.
You made a mixtape that just,
Except I didn't make a mixtape. See, there has to be a distinction. We need to build a distinction. And the distinction that I am building is these are not just random songs that I like. I got the track list from Rock On 1982 Volume 2, and I recreated that album.
I mean, it just sounds like your theme for your mixtape was music off of this album. But like every mixtape I've ever made has had a theme. Like,
all right, I guess you're right. I made a mixtape today with the theme was an exact replica of Rock On 1982 Volume 2.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I'd like to tell you why I had to do this, and it comes down to goodwill. A couple of my friends,
store or
no,
like our friend,
well,
or like
both of them, not Will, not friend Will, but goodwill, both the store and myself as a person.
Okay.
My friends in Connecticut, Justin and Jake, they recently got a new car, and this car has a CD player. So we're like, we need to get CDs for it. So we go to Goodwill and we buy dollar CDs. And pretty much the CDs we bought are the exact same CDs that my mother had in her first car with a CD player. And I would like to point out, I did not pick out all of the CDs.
Okay.
CDs were picked out by them. And then when I saw where it was heading, I threw in a copy of the Shaggy album. What, Boombastic? No, the one with that, I think, not Mr. Boombastic, whatever it's called. Whatever his yellow and black album is. That now they have two copies of.
Me and...
Yeah, It Wasn't Me, Angel, Freaky Girl. Yeah. It might just be Boombastic. I think it's just Boombastic, but not Mr. Boombastic.
I will not give Shaggy the benefit of a Google search.
That's fine. That's completely understandable. But that also ties in, thinking about this whole story, is why I talked about Game Over, because Shaggy is in Game Over, man. And he's just like, everybody wants to hear you sing this. Oh my God, you are getting my full stream of consciousness in this opening of the Say Report. Crazy.
And that never happens on the show, people. Never at all.
But yes, so... we started going to Goodwill buying CDs, and then other friends would do the same thing. So we've amassed like a very nice collection of CDs for their car. And one of them was purchased by our mutual friend Matt, and it was Rock On 1982 Volume 2. And I'm looking through it, and I got to tell you, I'm getting a bit of an eargasm just reading the track list. You got Think I'm in Love from Eddie Money. You got Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project. You have two Hall & Oates songs, Man Eater and I Can't Go For That. So it's this great album. So I get in the car, I see it, I immediately take out the CD, put it in, go to track 6, which is Think I'm in Love by Eddie Money, and I'm ready to kick it. Because I don't know, that song gets me going. Do you know that one?
Yeah, man.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Eddie Money just gets you going anyway, but Think I'm in Love is like... Think I'm in Love is the one that you do a musical number to, if you're a TV show.
Sure.
So, so I pop it in. I'm all excited to listen to it, and that's not the song that plays. And I'm like, oh well, maybe I just put the wrong one on. So then I jump to track 10, which is "Eye in the Sky" by Alan Parsons, not the song that plays. So I take out the CD and I look at it, and in the case for Rock On 1982 Volume 2. Is a different compilation CD.
Oh,
ouch. So Matt did not check at Goodwill, and I immediately rolled down the window and just threw it out because I missed throwing CDs out the window. That was my favorite thing about the mixed CD, was that burnable media became so affordable that like if it started skipping or like I'm bored with this, just buy Felicia and out the window it went. Mm-hmm. But I felt bad.
Also, fucking littering, and we'll point that out. But
yeah, I did just admit to littering on my podcast.
My big thing that I would do with them when they got really bad is I would do like art with them. Like I had like those plastic things that you put on the wall that you could just put CDs in, and it would instantly become a top shelf CD. The ones that I would never take out because they were just too high on my wall. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I got you.
The Mask soundtrack was up there.
Oh, I can't think of any song. Oh, there's a
Cuban Pete.
Cuban
Pete is the song. The reason to buy that album.
That's the reason why Big Bad Voodoo Daddy became big too.
Yeah.
Can we mention a song from the Ace Ventura soundtrack? Are we able to do that? and paid tribute to 1994.
Yeah.
I can't think of any songs off of that.
So you're wondering if we physically can. I thought you meant were you allowed
No, I'm not
to.
asking for permission.
Ace Ventura soundtrack.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there one that is butt sings? I bet you there's one that is butt sings on that soundtrack.
Is there a tone lock song like the Wild Thing?
Yeah, maybe let's take a quick look here. Soundtrack.
So Steve's bringing up that soundtrack. So I felt bad because they then had this like naked CD case. So I decided that I would recreate it. A, because it's 12 great songs, but B, so that, you know, they don't have an empty CD case in there. Because I'll throw out a CD, but I will not throw out a CD case. That's wrong.
Yeah. Well, so there is definitely Tone Look. Ace is in the house, so so you have the official song that is the end credits that tells you the whole movie that just happened.
And Tone Look sings that?
Yes, and I'd be willing to bet, and I'm not going to look it up to see if I'm right. I'm just going to assume I am that Jim Carrey shows up in the video for that song.
I'm going to watch it immediately after we finish recording.
It's all Ace songs, by the way. Did you know that? It's like Ace Race, all aces, Ace of Hearts, Ace in the Hole. Yeah, that's the Ace Ventura Pet Detective soundtrack. Although Lion Sleeps Tonight, how could we forget that was in that movie? Because like
there's an important scene. You know how we could forget it? When's the last time you watched Ace Ventura Pet Detective start to finish?
I'm going to tell you tonight. I'm going to say tonight is the night that I go back and rewatch Ace Ventura Pet Detective, because now I'm remembering parts of this movie and thinking, oh yeah, I really liked this movie.
Yeah, it hasn't aged well though. So like, trigger warning if you're going to join Sejohn on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, but the entire end of this movie is like has to do with the reveal of a hermaphroditic character, and it is not handled well at all. So, like, yeah, complete and total trigger warning on that one.
It's not hermaphroditic. It's trans. It's transgender.
Is it straight up? Yeah. Okay.
That the whole point is that, you know, he's transitioned to a woman. He just hasn't had the surgery to remove.
Right. Fuck this movie. I'm so excited to watch it again, but fuck this movie.
But if that's something that bothers you, if, you know, transphobia bothers you, do not go in there. Woo!
Yay! Terrible references to terrible jokes in a terrible movie. All right, man.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Man, 94. What a weird year.
Yeah.
That's also the year of like True Lies, right?
I think no, True Lies is 95.
95? All right. Yeah.
Which, no, it can't be. It has to be 93 because there's a True Lies standee in the blockbuster that Captain Marvel visits, and it is very obviously 1994 in that film.
It is 1994 for True Lies, by the way.
It is? Oh, wow. Okay, apologies from me. Yeah. Yeah, weird year. Definitely a weird. And those 3 Jim Carrey movies that get us on this. Before we transition to other stuff, because I have a bunch of other stuff I want to talk about, including giving Sejohn some of the grandest praise I believe I've ever going to give him in our friendship. What is the most misattributed to the Jim Blossoms song?
I mean, it's got to be like something by Bare Naked Ladies or what's the one from So I Married an Axe Murderer there? I don't man, it's like the theme song. There She Goes. Yeah,
it is not There She Goes. That's pretty solid though.
Yeah, that's I don't know, man.
The most misattributed to the Jim Blossoms song is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something.
Yeah, Deep Blue Something, man.
Yes, I know you know. But
I never would have even assumed that. Really?
I still get into fights with people who will live and die that song was sung by the Jim Blossoms. And that comes from, like, easily a miscategorization on Napster, Kaizo, LimeWire, Morpheus. That song was put up as being by the Jim Blossoms, and everybody was sharing music peer-to-peer, and so Breakfast at Tiffany's, like Deep Blue Something's one-hit wonder, becomes attributed to the Jim Blossoms, who are like, they have like a bouquet of one-hit wonders, and it's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, man. I actually just had this conversation the other day with Napster and LimeWire and all that about how it really did attribute a lot of songs to the wrong bands, and not least of which ended up like causing millions of kids all over the world to download what they thought was their favorite number one song, like Eiffel 65's "I'm Blue" and shit. But it just turned out to be Donald Duck getting a blowjob.
I didn't
There was
realize that Donald Duck could get a blowjob. I
well,
thought
when
he
you get a
didn't
40
have a
second,
penis.
when every other song you try to illegally download turns into a 40-second sound clip of exactly that, which I'm pretty sure it came off of like the Howard Stern show or something. Like it was some clip from some comedy satire or something or other that ended up getting passed around as like it was basically like early version of Rick rolling people. Like, you thought you were clicking on this, but here's what you got instead.
The internet is garbage, isn't it?
Hey, man, I'm much happier that we've evolved into Rick rolling people. I'd rather get a Rick Astley video any day of the week.
Oh, I love Rick Astley. He's one of my faves. Yeah, no. Speaking of Donald Duck getting a blowjob, Howard the Duck canceled. No Howard the Duck TV show for you or me. Yeah. Not super happy about that, actually.
But at the moment, I mean, like, it's one of those things where we don't know what's going to happen with that IP, but it's definitely something that somebody's going to do, even if it ends up being more comics or something. We're going to see more Howard the Duck soon. I just have to keep telling myself that.
That's how I've been dealing with it too. I just wanted to make sure that like we addressed it as like 2 of the 5 people who really love Howard the Duck.
Are we including Kevin Smith in that? Because
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the one Google group that we share with Kevin Smith.
I doubt that, but yes, yeah, no, man.
I
the other reason why I'm not too surprised is that like Kevin Smith is a lot like Guillermo del Toro in this way, where he has like 1,000 irons on the fire at one time. He is just always constantly trying to do work. So like he was supposed to be the big showrunner on this one supposedly, and so as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, this isn't going to happen in this iteration. We'll find out what's actually going to happen with it. So I guess part of me is also not too surprised this is happening, considering the work around it.
Yeah, but it feels more related to the like shake up going on with Marvel Television. That like Kevin Feige is now in charge of that as well. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, all I read was that it was out, and one other one was out, but that we were still going to get a Hit Monkeys show. The Dazzler show, the show at Dazzler is no more as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that they really canceled Howard the Duck and aren't just rethinking it, considering fan success. I won't say critical. Well, I guess it's also been pretty critically successful of Harley Quinn for DC Universe.
Right.
But that being said, at the same time, I'm not too surprised about Marvel trying to take a little bit of a step back and reconfigure itself, considering that with all of the critical success of stuff on the DC Universe app, Swamp Thing included, but despite all the critical success, what's actually going on financially over there seems like a fucking dumpster fire. So like trying to really play it safe, I'm not too surprised that Marvel's trying to do that. I mean, it's Disney, Marvel, and playing it safe is definitely one of the key factors for that group, right?
I also think that, and this is me, and this is mostly my opinion, nothing to substantiate it, they're trying to cut all these vestigial limbs that are tied to other networks so that the place to go for Marvel TV is Disney Plus.
Yeah, where did you think where was Howard going to end up? Like
Howard,
FX or
Howard
something?
was a Hulu show.
Hulu.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the 4 shows at Hulu. 2 of them have gone away.
Yeah, and Disney is having such a hard time right now dealing with Hulu contracts because like everybody that's losing their minds about certain things not being available on the Disney app, like it's probably because they're tied up in Hulu soundtracks, which are also Disney soundtrack contracts, which are also Disney contracts. It's a fucking, again, it's a madhouse. Like whatever's going on behind the scenes with who owns what is going to take a while for them to figure out. So again, dialing stuff back does not seem too weird. I was super pissed to find out that I'm not going to be able to get any of the Mighty Ducks movies until at least midsummer, if not the end of the year, depending on which one you're talking about, all because they're all tied up in fucking Showtime's contracts with Hulu. Like, yeah, that's
why I bought the Mighty Ducks trilogy on Amazon when I saw it for $5. So I could enjoy the adventures of Gordon Bombay and his rambunctious youngsters whenever I get the feeling.
Yeah, man.
Those are
Yeah,
good
I wanted
movies.
to. I know I wanted to show one to the girls the other night, and I was like, "Let's look it up, Disney Plus." And sure enough, all of them were like, "Oh, it won't be on Disney Plus till July. Won't be on Disney Plus till December. Won't be on Disney Plus till January of next year." All because they're all tied up in again Hulu contracts,
Yeah.
which is just stupid. That like Disney also owns most of Hulu now, so what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not great, but you know, it's what we're learning. It's what this was going to be.
Yeah,
Streaming was the Wild West, and now lawmen have arrived.
yeah,
And so everybody's, you know, going to stake claims, and you know, we need to make sure that the claims that were staked beforehand are also acknowledged. And
yeah.
it's crazy, and it's going to be weird to watch, especially once Peacock rolls out later this year. And we're going to be
Maybe.
covering it.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see what goes on with that. I mean, I feel like Peacock is just going to go the way of the CBS app in that we will probably talk about it once and then kind of forget it exists. But yeah,
Hopefully. I mean, I don't know. The thing about Peacock is that it's going to have like The Office, which is apparently 7% of everything streamed on Netflix is The Office.
I
So,
suppose that we don't know if that number is accurate.
right,
That's
but that's
because
the number
Netflix does not
that's
say that.
shared
Yeah,
around.
yeah. That's the assumed number by outsiders. But yes,
Yeah. You know, 100 people were asked if they watched The Office and 7 said yes.
right. And then there's this idea that like that's going to be a huge thing, but Netflix when it loses The Office is then going to be gaining Seinfeld. So
Yeah. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a trip. And speaking of trips, I want to pay you credit. I want to give you credit. I want to give you the kindest gesture that I think I've ever given you in our friendship, and I hope that it's okay. I hope I'm not overselling it, but Sejohn, you were the only non-destructive decision that I made this weekend.
okay. Glad I could help
Waking
out
up
with
on
that.
Sunday and playing Borderlands 3 with you, the best decision that I made all weekend.
I'm glad I could be there for you,
You're a
man.
good friend. You're a good
I am,
friend.
man. I'm just glad that we powered through and we finished up Borderlands 3 this week,
I
or at least
know.
we finished up the storyline of Borderlands 3. Really, we like that game is more than its story, and it has been that way since 2. But yeah, we finished up the main storyline on our first run of Borderlands 3 this weekend, and that was super awesome.
You know what I'm gonna say about that? What you just said. For me, the Borderlands games, the everything else of it really kind of obscured the storyline for me. So the nicest thing about Borderlands 3 is that is also a really strong story.
Hmm.
Like there were legitimate moments where I was in tears over things that occurred in the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, I felt the same way about 2, but I'm glad that you came around to on it on 3. Like I think that I think they've done a really good job kind of crystallizing a Borderlands game. I won't say that they've grown too much. They've definitely added quality of life stuff. Like it is the best of the 3 mainline, 4 mainline if you want to include pre-sequel, which you should. I mean, like it is the strongest one of them for sure. And the way that it ties everything together, the way that it addresses as many characters as it should. Like I think that anybody that maybe was kind of left out of this game, first of all, who knows what's going to happen in DLC? Who knows what's going to happen? There's some side quest stuff that you and I haven't really gotten to that maybe we run into some other people, things like that. But it does right by the rest of the series, and so like. I'm glad that you feel like it came around to that point for 3 because I think that that's always kind of been Borderlands' strong suit, what always made it stand out, and the fact that shined through for you is awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So it was a good time. So thank you for that, because other stuff happened. But before I get to that, I have been in charge of the microphone for a very long time. Do you want to slide into the driver's seat for a bit before before I
I mean,
continue?
yeah. So, I mean, if we're gonna be talking some gaming stuff just for the moment, like, yeah. So, like, Borderlands 3, getting that done was super like fulfilling this weekend, and I'm glad that we definitely did that. Because like I've been playing that game with other characters. I've been playing that game slowly on my own in other ways, but I've been purposely trying to not get too far ahead of where we were because I didn't want to I didn't want to spoil anything. I wanted to kind of experience it all, like playing with you, which was awesome. So everything about this game, I experienced for the first time, really by your side, and that was the first time that I've done that with a game in a long time. So that was awesome. But now I get to go and explore and do a whole bunch of other like weirdo random shit, the stuff that I got to do for years and two, and I'm super excited about that as well. So just all around good experience there. But I also I have been countering that, taking my time with Borderlands by playing some much slower games in other and slower. And I don't mean that necessarily in like a bad way at all, but I needed something that was not so kinetic, not so frantic, right? And so I've been playing an adventure game this week called, for the last 2 weeks really, called My Brother Rabbit, and I'm ready to dig into it a little bit. Like, have you heard anything about this game? It's been out for a while now on a couple of different platforms.
No, this is the first time that I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, so it's an adventure game, point and click, really, really, really simple mechanics. I don't want to it's an easy game, but I'm trying to think of a way to really kind of give it its due, because it's doing things really, really well that I'm really, really happy with. And so all around, it's just been such a fantastic experience. So it's very tropey in its story. It's really tropey in its mechanics and everything that it does. It's not breaking any new ground in any way other than maybe I would say its artwork. Its artwork is just phenomenal and beautiful. But in terms of story, it is an adventure. It is a fantasy adventure within a world that is being told to a little girl that is suffering of cancer, and it sounds like it pulls at your heartstrings. It does. It uses a lot of really big cancer story tropes to really kind of pull at you, the story of rushing to the hospital being told through this fantasy world of, and what it is it's her brother telling her this story using her stuffed animals as the characters. So that's what the whole world is made up of, is her favorite stuffed rabbit, who is trying to save his sister the flower, and it's this just really heart-wrenching story about what's going on, right? But in the same way that it's not telling you anything that you probably haven't heard in other cancer story games, in other cancer story movies and things like that. I feel like this has become really kind of again, tropey in the way that there's always a young girl dying of some disease. I mean, it's Fern Gully, right? It's not Fern Gully. What is it? Secret of Nim. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's Secret of Nim. It's the brother going out to save her by going up against these adventurous, insurmountable odds and things like that. But the stuff that he's going up against is never anything too vicious, or at least not yet. I will be honest that I have only just gotten to the last chapter of it, but it's not scary in any real way. You're doing simple things like collect all the balloons in order to help the pot float, so that you can then get to the gear behind this, so that you can bring it over to the robot that does that. It's very, very straightforward in a lot of what you do. There's only been a couple of moments where I've gotten lost, and legitimately it's just because from a puzzle perspective, the main mechanic is a lot of seek and find. You need to be able to look at the environment and notice that this leaf is actually shaped in a really weird way. Oh, that's because it's actually a green bean. It's not a leaf, so collect that. You need to be able to do that, a lot of that, in order to keep moving forward. And so anywhere that I've gotten stuck, it's only been because of my poor eyesight and shape recognition. And then on top of that, the game is really, really, really hand-holdy, and I think it is because it's meant for, I won't say younger audiences, but it is meant for maybe newer audiences to this type of game. So it does this really cool thing where it shows you on screen constantly, here's the thing that you're looking for, and it'll light up if you're on the right screen. You can go from panel to panel, and if you're on the right panel, then it'll light up. So you're at least in the right room when you're looking for it. Then it's just a matter of you using your powers of observation to actually find it, right? And so it's that mechanic on top of a lot of really classic puzzles. Once you find all of the gears, you then put them onto a board, and then you have to shift them to get them into the right spot to make the robot move, that type of thing. So it's doing all of these really classic things that I am just finding super comforting up against a game like Borderlands that, like I was saying before, is like super kinetic and constantly just a madhouse. You and I ducked into the mayhem mechanic yesterday for all of 20 minutes, and like that was awesomely fun but insane, right? And like your brain almost doesn't have time to process the stuff that's happening on screen in that mode. You really have to be just kind of just flying through your knowledge base of that game in order to do it. Whereas like this is a game where if you need to sit back and stare at the screen for 5 minutes, it's okay. No, like there's no punishment for it. There's no time limit to any of these things. There's no need to get something done immediately. So it's also super fun to like play with the family. Like we can put on a puzzle on screen and work through it together in 15-20 minutes, and it's a blast to be able to do that. So like it's just been so much fun going up against Borderlands, being able to go to a game like that. It's been very refreshing.
Cool. Very, very cool. It reminds me of that episode of Full House where everybody plays the game, and it's like that's not any game that was on Super Nintendo because it's clearly an adventure game.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I've been playing it on the Switch, which is just an awesome place for this kind of gaming, being able to take it with me around the house, take it with me in the car. It was really nice. But then also, again, the artwork is really the kind of the big standout for it, which is actually fantastic on the Switch. It hits that sweet spot that usually you only get from Nintendo games, where it doesn't try and push any type of artistic limitations in terms of what the console is capable of. Instead, what it does is just really perfects the artwork in a form that is really easy to like consume and also just looks pretty. So yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, can't recommend it enough for anybody. And the other big thing about it, always constantly on sale. Every time I go looking for it, it seems to be on sale. And on the Switch, what was really nice is like the girls are not big into like the online like gaming stuff, so they don't pay too much attention to what's going on there. So with all of the games that they've bought since we've owned the Switch for about 2 years, and they've just been kind of just racking up those Nintendo coins. So we had like $25 in Nintendo credit like on the system, and the game being on sale all the time, we were able to pick it up for like $3. So really, it was like almost like getting it for free because we were just using those Nintendo points. So like I encourage anybody to just keep an eye on it. Once it drops below $5, if you've got the coins to like spend on it, just grab it because it's totally worth it.
Excellent. Just thank you. That's so nice. I like that recommendation. What I like more is that it's called my rabbit brother. My brother the rabbit.
It's not even my brother the rabbit. It's my brother rabbit.
Okay.
And so I'm not quite sure what the syntax of that sentence is supposed to be. What I've been taking it as is the brother is represented by the rabbit in the story. So it's my brother, comma, rabbit, but that's not actually what it is as it's written out. So I'm not quite sure what the syntax is supposed to be there.
Right. But I'm happy because of the word brother. Because that's going to lead me to one of my negative decisions from this weekend that had a positive outcome.
Okay.
And it was a positive decision when it started. It's just that, like all good things, eventually it got tainted a little bit bad.
Yeah, too much of a good thing. Gotcha.
Right. So this weekend in Wells, Maine, at York Community College, they had a Comic-Con. The YC3, short for York Community College Comic-Con. Love it. I just love the name.
They're allowed to actually use Comic-Con in their title still, or what?
I mean, I guess if you don't do it as one thing, or comic convention, they called it YC3.
Yeah.
Like that was what all the stuff
maybe
was.
Maybe that's their workaround. Yeah, maybe that's their workaround.
The official title being that. So Dale and I went up there. It was a free con. And, before we go in, we're like, let's set expectations to low. Because, it's the first convention. It's the first year that they've done it. And also, it's at a community college. So, you don't want to expect, like, the spectacle of San Diego Comic-Con.
Right, yeah. I mean, you want to give it its fair chance. And you don't go in expecting San Diego Comic-Con for sure.
Right. You don't even go in expecting Providence Comic-Con. I think it's just called Rhode Island. Like, you got to make sure that you're not hoping for something big. So we go in and, it's basically one room.
Okay.
But they got some pretty like big name stuff. I mean, our draw for going up there is Steve Levine, colorist and like letterer for the Ninja Turtle stuff. You know, we've known him for years, and he was going to be there. But then because Steve was there, he was able to get like a bunch of bigger name people, like Ben Bishop, who is currently doing covers for the modern IDW Ninja Turtle stuff, was there. And you had guys like Paul Davis, who does Topps trading cards. So like, it was a really cool amount of stuff there for it being a small free con.
Nice. Yeah, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and like we go in and we say, oh, so it's one room. What are we going to do? And we make our plan of attack. And we decided, you know, we're going to buy a big commission from somebody. And we ended up getting ourselves, Devon and Dale, as the River City Girls, which is just a terrifying photo. But also, it so captures us. I
didn't think it was terrifying. I thought it was actually pretty badass. You sent it out on the Discord, and it was pretty fantastic.
It was terrifying the first time to just be like, "That's it, man. That's what it is. That's how I envision myself when I play the game. It's to see it real crystallized in front of you. That just like, man, okay, whew. I can communicate how crazy I am to people.
It is a fantastic image that I honestly think encapsulates 2019 for us perfectly.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of putting it. Yeah. But yes, so we get a big commission from her, and she's like, it's probably going to take me till the end of the con. How long are you guys going to be around? And they're like, oh, we'll stay till the end of the con. But then we left and we got lunch because there's like brilliant places to eat up there. The main diner's there, the steakhouse, which that doesn't open till later. But a little place that we like, that our favorite place is called Bull and Claw, and they specialize in prime rib and lobster. So you really can't go wrong with that, right?
No, not at all. No.
And we got
Not in Maine, you sure as fuck can't. Jesus.
And we got to prove Dale's little slogan for Maine, which is "Go to Maine, see Rhode Islanders." Because as we're sitting in Bull and Claw, a large party is sat behind us, and they're talking about, oh yeah, we got hibachi at that place in Pawtucket. Well, really, it's East Providence. Oh, that one that used to be over Smithfield? And it's like, oh my God, we're 2 hours from home. And it's these people still making the same references.
Welcome to New England.
Welcome to New
All of
England.
it's secretly Rhode Island.
All of it is secretly Rhode Island. And then we go back to the con, and we talked with some other artists, and Dale got a couple more commissions done. Paul Davis had a really nice picture of Rose from Last Jedi and
Nice.
Rise of Skywalker, like Rosie the Riveter.
Ah, awesome.
So Dale got that, and then, you know, the artist is like, do you want me to personalize this for you? And she's like, yeah. So she had him write Rose's speech at the end of Last Jedi of, we're not going to win by fighting what we hate. We have to defend the things we love. So it's like awesome. So it's just this crazy thing. And then we have been talking, Dale and I have been talking for a while. And if you want more, like the Dale side of this, and it's definitely more her story, but we've been talking about how interesting it would be to see Cerebus, the Hellhound, with the 3 heads of Eevee evolutions. So Eevee body, and then Vaporeon, Flareon, Jolteon as the Cerberus heads. And there was a guy who's like, yeah, I do Pokemon stuff. And she's like, hey, could you do this for me?
Viveribus? Is that what it'd be?
We were calling it Cerebeevee.
Cerebeavis.
And it came out great. And if you want to hear more about it, listen to Say Report Jr. this week, because Dale, she was the one who like saw these artists who really spoke to her and had the deeper conversations with them about these commissions, but ended up being this great thing. And then we go over to Steve because, you know, it's like the last couple of hours, so his line has died down as the big draw, and we're talking, and he says, hey, you know, a bunch of us with the artists, we're going to go grab drinks afterwards. You guys should come along. And, you know, well, we're 2 hours from home, but yeah, let's go drinking with a bunch of comic book artists. That seems like a smart idea. That was the bad decision. Because, you know, I have to drive home after this.
Yeah.
But it also had some good in it. And we talk about go to Maine, see Rhode Islanders. The artist that we end up sitting next to is from Rhode Island.
Nice.
Steve Mardo. I'm not really familiar with a lot of his work, but that's his name if you want to look him up. And, you know, but this is how he introduces himself to us. And it's so something weird just happened to me. And it's like, yeah, go ahead. What's up? And he's like, I was in the bathroom. I had to use the stall because it's a urinal in a stall. And a hand comes underneath it and starts to untie my shoes.
Whoa. Okay.
And so your reaction, like, hey, whoa, what are you doing? And the voice underneath the stall attached to the hand goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were my brother. Which raises further questions.
Yeah.
Like, do you go around just untying your brother's shoe? So that's like the introduction that Dale and I get to this guy. Before he's talking about going to shows at the living room and then hanging out on Thayer and
Nice.
Liquid Lounge stories. And it's
Very
like,
nice.
we came all this way to hear stories that, like, we could be telling. But it was fun for it to be
man.
like that. It was cool. And then, you know, we drank it, so we waited around until sobered up, and then we drove home. But that's why it's like, oh, I just want to have a day playing video games with Sejohn. But I thought you were my brother.
Yeah.
What?
That's fucking bizarre.
I don't want. We don't like to put the Say Report stamp on a lot of things, but we do not approve of untying people's shoes in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think that both of us can stand behind that.
Yeah, don't be reaching under fucking stalls to freak other people out. It's real weird. Like, bathroom etiquette has gone out the fucking window in this country as far as I'm concerned. Things have just gotten too friggin' bizarre as far as what people seem to be willing to just do in the bathroom. I don't know if we had this conversation on a mic or off, but I definitely had a situation a couple of weeks back of a gentleman deciding to just use his phone, and not like that's something that people have done for years. But this was straight up just like, hold on, I can't hear you. Let me put on speakerphone. Like, what are you doing? Like, at that point, you're inviting in conversation, which is already weird. You're inviting in conversation in the bathroom, which is even weirder. And like, man, everybody the bathroom is a private space. Can we agree to that?
Even a public bathroom.
Even a public bathroom is a private
moments.
Yeah.
And I don't, and they put too many urinals in there, and a lot of these urinals, they don't have dividers anymore. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what that is all about either. Yeah, also the return of the trough urinal in like trendy hipster places. Like, no, can we put a stop to that immediately? Trough urinals exist for places that just can't be bothered to like keep an eye on cleaning like good porcelain urinals, and that's not trendy. That's gross.
Let's also talk about, if you have a trough urinal, don't have a bathroom guy.
Yes.
Because it's these hipster places that are like, yeah, go piss in this trough, and then you have to give this guy $1 for being in there while you did it.
Yeah, is it an apology? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here's $2. I'm sorry I did this 10 feet away from you in your line of sight.
Also, I'm just sick of the bathroom guy in general. Like, hipster places, even if it's not a trough, they'll sometimes still have the bathroom guy. And like, I'm not waiting for the bathroom guy. I went to a bar once, and I went to wash my hands, and I get it all started, wash my hands, and then a bathroom guy shows up, and he's like, oh, let me take care of that. And he shuts off the water and then gives me the drying, like, paper towels to dry my hands. And I'm like, thank you. And I leave, and he's like, hey, nothing for me? And I'm like, no, I did all the other stuff, too, that you were supposed to be there for. You don't get paid for finishing me off. You gotta be in your spot if you want a tip from me.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you handed me a paper towel. No, thank you. If you're gonna put the soap in my hand, like I watched him do it for another guy after me, put the soap in his hand, turn on the faucet, and then hand him. You did your job there. You earned something there. You handed me a paper towel.
Oh man!
And I wasn't gonna wait to wash my hands. I want to get in and out of the bathroom as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
And if that's
anything
crazy,
that gets in my way is not a convenience. It's an inconvenience, literally.
I will say this,
will
though.
say,
I have never been shy about peeing with that guy in there. Like, I know there are some people who get, like,
I need a buffer person. There needs to be somebody who's already been in there, or there can be somebody that comes in right after me, and that's okay. But if I go in there and I'm the only one in there, I have straight up done I'm going to go into a stall. Nope, this is too much for me. I'm going to pretend I peed and leave. If I am the only person in there with this guy that is now standing there, I can't do it. And this happens more and I will say for me, this happens more in casinos than it does anywhere else. Is I will go in and be the only one in there and feel like I know I need to go away. But if I go in and somebody else is already in there, I feel like that person's broke the seal for me. Like, it's okay.
Sejohn not real interested in being Armstrong. He just wants to be Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, man.
You go ahead. You be the first person on the moon, Neil.
I mean, if the moon is committing what I consider to be a sinful act in front of another human being, yes.
I'm just saying, you need someone to have already broken the seal before you're going out there. And I'm going to tell you, like, we give Neil Armstrong a lot of credit as the first man to walk on the moon. I'm going to give Buzz Aldrin some credit right now for being the guy to, like, we don't know what the fuck is out there. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, you go first. No one's like in that moment. It was like, after you? No. After you.
No. I know, alphabetically it would be me either way, but you go ahead. Especially, think about the fact you get to be Buzz Aldrin if Neil Armstrong, like, flubs the line. Like, what if Neil Armstrong, instead of, like, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, was like, fuck, I'm on the moon.
Steps outside and is just like, it was shit. Fuck. Nope, we can't report that.
It would be Buzz Aldrin who gets to, like, he's like, all right, this guy, faux pas McGee over here.
Hey man, everybody thinks Neil Armstrong was a poet, but what we don't remember, or what we've never heard, is he was actually a terrible potty mouth as well.
I mean, like, sailors have bad mouths. You think, what, astronauts are going to be saints?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Let's start taking on astronauts now, too. Yeah, let's take on everybody this episode.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're not trying to start beef with astronauts. I don't want that to be how it comes across.
Oh, man. That episode where they took a lot of shit all over a bathroom attendant and then came up against astronauts. That's a weird episode.
I'm not taking shit. Like, I understand that it's a job and, there are places that want it, but I want you to do your job.
Hey.
If I was at Blockbuster and I didn't do my job and someone stole a bunch of DVDs, I didn't get tipped for it. I got fired.
Getting tipped at all at Blockbuster? Because
I would occasionally get tipped. I would occasionally get tipped at Blockbuster, and it was awkward every time.
Oh, it's always weird when you get tipped at a job that is not traditional for tipping. Like, I would get that at CVS sometimes. People would be like, "Yeah, you can keep the change on a $20 for like an $18 item," and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this $2 because, like, if I put it in my pocket, it's going to look and feel like stealing. And even though I know in my head it's not stealing, I'm not going to do that.
I mean, I think...
But if your drawer's $2 over, that's apparently a problem. So what do you do with that money?
What are you supposed to do in that situation? Yeah, it's crazy. I'd maybe just, like, be a little free with the change for an hour.
Yeah, right?
My thing was I was an entertainment consultant at Blockbuster. They tried to, like, have concierge service at Blockbuster my second year working there. So my job would be to greet people as they came in and guide them to their perfect night's entertainment.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This sounds like some, like, leftover 90s nonsense. Was this in the 2000s?
2003, my friend.
Yeah. That's what this sounds like, is some just bullshit nonsense. We have too much money yes, just before the financial crash. Yes, this totally all tracks.
All tracks. And the crazy thing is that, like, other stores complained about it. They're like, that's a stupid thing. Da, 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 da. My store, like, we have the perfect employee to do that job. His name is Devon Decker. Yeah, and my favorite part about that gig is I would tell people who wanted to hang out with me on Friday night, I'm like, I'm at the Blockbuster till 10. So you want to come by? I can work with you as a concierge, and we could talk and hang out as
Yeah,
long as
right.
you end
Like
up renting a movie. Like,
job is literally to talk to people about movies. Come and hang out with me while we talk about movies, and I will be fulfilling my duty.
yeah, but that job, I used to get tips for that a lot. Like, and that was crazy.
Well, but
'Cause
see, like that weirdly puts you in a position where I feel like I would be okay taking tips at that point.
right, no,
I thought you meant like people would come up to you, pay for their night's rental, and just be like, "And here's for doing a good job taking my fucking rental info. So here's $1 for you," which is just like what?
right.
And
That
I'm
would
not
also
even
happen
saying
though.
that,
That would happen
right,
too.
that would happen, right? Like that shit does happen. I know it does because again, CVS, I'd get the weirdest moments with little old ladies, like just because they, I don't know, like the way I bagged their groceries that night or something.
The difference for me would be because they'd have to walk through the security gate. You know, like Blockbusters are always set up so weird because you'd pay and then I'd have to meet you on the other side of the gate to give you your movies so that I can see if you stole anything. You can't have the movies there. You'd set off the gate.
See, I always thought, and this is totally my own thinking, that the movies couldn't pass through the gate because it might do something to the tapes. Because I thought whatever systems the gates were using might, because you know you always used to hear about horror stories of like tapes being erased or DVDs getting erased because of like I don't know magnets or whatever bullshit.
Right. Well, magnets will do that. They have to be
Right.
like super magnets.
Right. And so,
but a
like,
lot of that is, urban legends and not really going to happen. But we'd pass it over, and I'd meet the person over there and pass it, and then they'd just take their fingers and they'd shove it in my shirt pocket with the money, and I'd be like, I feel a little violated with what you just did.
Yeah, that gets to a level of touching I'm not comfortable with either. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a gig. Blockbuster was a gig. I don't know how. I do know how we got here. I can trace the exact trajectory of this conversation. Which is why it's sad that we turn to somber things in these last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Kobe fucking Bryant, man.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about this as a show that's willing to and wants to talk about everything. It's man, I am in a place where it is still too gruesome for me to even think about. It's a horrific events that led to what happened, and the world is definitely going to be a little different without Kobe Bryant in it. Like it's a weird world, man. A lot of people's reactions to it are in some cases understandably mixed, in other cases monstrously inappropriate, and at the same time, I'm just I'm having a hard time myself, kind of reacting to it. So I don't really know how to feel about the world reacting to it right now, too. You know, it's
yes, yeah, and I'm right there with you. I mean, the big thing is we finish up doing what we were doing yesterday, playing Borderlands 3 and just hanging out. I go upstairs. And it had just happened.
Yep. Yeah. So same for me.
So like, it's the first thing when I go on my social media is breaking news. And like we talked about earlier in this episode, the internet is garbage.
Yes.
And I was there when Jack Black died, and the guy who played Napoleon Dynamite was in a motorcycle crash, and all things that didn't happen.
Or the weird shit that did. Like, it took me a half a day to believe that Heath Ledger was actually dead. You know, like,
right.
Yeah.
Or what about, and then also, like, even in the time frame of this own show, Tom Petty, the report that he was dead, and then no, he's alive in the hospital, and that whole quantum state that he existed in for like a 24-hour period, where we weren't sure which one was the proper quote.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just. So then, like, to see Kobe and be like, it can't be true, right? The guy's barely 41 years old, right?
Right.
And,
I mean, he's still playing and still like an important figure in the field. Like, this isn't somebody. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I mean, but you're also right. Is that it's one of the first times where our culture is experiencing one of these people who was a part of the cancel culture revolution pass away, and seeing this mixed reaction about it.
Well, you know, and like we we exist in a world that's completely muddied by like legal nonsense and all that shit too. So everything that happened in that guy's career, coming down, I mean, even to the infamous like rape apology stuff that happened with like the idea of victim blaming becoming like a huge part of the forefront for the first time ever. It's there was so much wrapped up in this dude that like we didn't take the time to unpack while he was alive, and now it's never gonna be able to truly be comfortably unpacked because like it's just the world that we live in just doesn't allow for it right now. For good or for ill. In some ways I feel like, is this a point where we have to come to terms with the fact where once a person dies, the story's kind of over? Or is this the first time where we kind of have to think about the fact that like maybe that's not the case? Because look at somebody like Michael Jackson, like where we still have these back and forths in our culture, and probably will for the rest of eternity, about like, well, supposedly he did this. Well, here's a lot of evidence saying that he did. Well, people saying that doesn't mean anything. We live in a world in which you're innocent until proven guilty, and then like, hey, some of this evidence is now starting to be a little bit more grayed with the passing of time. And so now you think about that, and a person that has been that controversial for 25 years, right? And now this is the first time, like you said, we're dealing with Kobe Bryant that's really kind of been in this last decade, and the internet existing and things like that. And it's just it's a weird world right now at the moment, and all of that is wrapped around the fact of this fucking tragedy of like we didn't just lose Kobe Bryant that day, but we lost like, what was it, 8 other people, right? Like it's just it's horrifying, man. It's just horrifying, and like thoughts and prayers with anybody that's still around dealing with it,
Yeah. And especially to Kobe's wife and his newborn child. Like,
and there were 3 other kids or something like that. Yeah, like
and not the fact that they lost like a husband and a father, but also their sister was on board with him, and
right.
To lose a sibling as well, like
a 13-year-old child is it's just horrific, man. Yeah.
So I mean, and understand, like. Yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers for everybody that it is a tragedy. There's no that, but know that in this world where everybody has an opinion, people are going to have opinions on this one. And because it's the first time we're really dealing with something like this, like, just be a little bit more understanding about how people are going to approach it. Just because somebody didn't like the man and what he stood for doesn't necessarily mean that their opinion is invalid if they're showing remorse for the other people who lost their lives yesterday.
Yeah.
It's patience and understanding should be what we take away from this.
Yeah, in both directions. I mean, like, we should have complete understanding for those people out there that felt like they were victimized in some way by him as a figure and everything that he stood for, but also he also had a lot of fans still out there, and those people need to be respected as well. So like it's this weird thing that we're gonna have to kind of figure out, but just be excellent to each other.
Yes, be excellent to each other is the perfect thing to end this episode on. So Sejohn, anything further that you might like to add that you want to make sure people check out, or
yeah, just talking about like cool Switch adventure games today. I mean, I'd be remiss to not point out that tomorrow we finally are getting an ending to Kentucky Route Zero. I know Zach was talking about some stuff off mic with us about being excited to play it himself, so I'm sure that they will talk about it a bit. If not this week, next week. You might be hearing some from me too, because I've got a very weird history and fascination with that game, but overall, like, just check it out. It comes out tomorrow, final chapter, and with that there's a Switch release, so just like dive in, folks.
Right. And so what I'm just gonna say is the passing of someone so young, it definitely reminds us that life is a precious gift, but also remember that your own self-care is important. So make decisions that support your own health, not just, following some societal belief that you should be out there living your life, right? Like saying yes to everything, that can also be harmful. So make sure that you appreciate life, not just by doing things, but also keeping yourself healthy and happy and alive. And again, be excellent to each other. And if you'd like to talk to Sejohn about any of the adventure games he brought up this week, you can find him on Twitter at Siege vs. the World.
And if you want to talk to Devon about what other astronauts on the moon might have thought as they stepped out, you can find him at Devon D. Decker.
So until next time, Will. Oh, jeez. Will, until I hear it from you, I'm going to keep talking. Have a great night, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.